kind of already talked about this. We all know what it means to feel triggered. We probably felt triggered at some point today. We feel triggered all day long. And these triggers all build up. They all result in stuck feelings, as I call them. And so it's not even these big things, these big triggers, big traumas that happen in our life. It's just the daily, constant little ones that get to us, that cause us most of our loss of life, that eat up our energy. The key to staying out of reactivity to all these things is, again, to notice where you feel triggered. Notice, the word notice, means you're observing, you're witnessing, you are the awareness of the feeling. This was groundbreaking, a game changer for me when I learned this along the way, that my feeling and my reaction to the feeling are two separate things. And that I can actually, that the feeling is a sensation that shows up in your body. It's not this vague idea, oh, I'm feeling something. No, it's your physical sensation. That's a feeling. There's an input. And then your brain interprets that input, shows up in your body as a particular feeling. That interpretation is based on past events, your conditioning, your attachments. But you're essentially just dealing and reacting and reacting to that sensation. That is what feelings are. The sensations that show up in your body. And your whole relationship with the life around you, the world outside, is actually between you and your sensations. There's nothing to do with what's happening out there. Two people smell smoke. First person remembers happy campfires, summer camps as a kid, guitar playing, singing, pleasant sensations, warm, fuzzy feeling all over the body. Next person survived a house fire, and they feel panic, trauma. Exact same input, smell of smoke. Two very different experiences. It's not about the smoke, it's about your relationship to your feelings. And when you can come out of your reaction to your feelings, pleasant or unpleasant makes no difference, then you can reach the state, go back to your natural state of just smelling smoke. It's just smoke. Then you can look around and see what the actual cause of it is. It could be serious, it could be fun, but you're not reacting any longer to past stuckness.
You smell the smoke just now?
There's been I call them random fires, and they like to create those here. And I asked you about this the other day, didn't I? It's like, so what is it? What's the deal with these random fires? You had an interesting answer. So it's about not having to pay the trash fee. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The primary obstacle to observing your sensations, because I can say that and it sounds so easy. It was like, yeah, and it's actually quite logical. It's like, if I can just keep my attention on my sensation, then everything's fine. Suddenly, you're no longer reacting. But unfortunately, it's not quite so easy. The reactivity is hardwired from decades. It's not like we're 2 or 4 here. We've been living for a while. And our brain has become hardwired to react instantly. We don't even realize that there's a sensation that we're reacting to. We just have that instant reactivity to whatever happens. And that whole signal chain, not even aware of it. It happens so quickly. Again, that signal chain is an input, neutral, objective reality input. Smell of smoke. Your brain interprets it based on past conditioning, so either as pleasant or unpleasant, which shows up as a pleasant or unpleasant sensation in your body. And now your relationship is with that sensation. You're just wrestling with it. If it's unpleasant, you're like, I don't want that. Push it down. That's what keeps it stuck. If it's pleasant, I like that. You cling to it. I want more of that. That also keeps it stuck. In both cases, we're not living with the flow. We're not allowing sensations to arise and pass. We're keeping ourselves stuck. We're keeping ourselves enslaved to the senses around us, whatever's happening. We have to come out of that. That's what proactive means in our context of our workshop today. It's coming out of that reactive state and learning to be proactive, free, essentially. All right. So the main obstacle to keeping our focus, keeping our attention on our sensations, staying connected to our body is what we're talking about here. So staying connected, grounded, like I'm in my feeling state, so I can tell if something resonates or doesn't. Somebody mentioned that before. So you can actually act from an inner wisdom place, a deeper knowing place, not this kind of reactive place. So what gets in the way? It's our monkey mind. It's constantly injecting itself. It's constantly drifting. It's constantly jumping around. Once you start paying a little attention, and in meditation, we do that by choosing a focal point. Very often that could just be your breath, universal tool of presence. Your breath does not happen in the future. Your breath isn't happening yesterday. Your breath is happening right now. So if you give it your attention, you have to be present. It makes you present. And then you realize how dominant that monkey mind is. It's crazy. For those who haven't experienced meditation, it is extremely frustrating to realize that you can't keep your mind focused on something as basic as your breath for more than a few seconds. A few seconds. How do you expect to manifest your best life if you're sending a new signal, a new frequency, a new distortion every 3 seconds? Because that's actually what's happening. Your mind is jumping around all the time. Maybe it's this I should be doing. I should be doing that. This is good. Maybe that. Doubts, fears, anxiety, new attachments. It's a miracle. I even look at my own life. It's a miracle I got anything done before I started a mindfulness practice. Mind is a great tool for aggregating data, the upfront stuff, and for executing once you have your plan, once you have your truth. But the whole middle part of like, what is your truth? What is the next step you should be taking? Should you be leaning into this or leaning into that? That's nothing the mind can help with. It'll only drive you crazy. All it can do is give you hundreds of options, and then you wind up in choice overload or paralysis analysis. That part is not, the mind doesn't know you. It's a tool that you should use. But we've all been conditioned through our upbringing to put this mind in the driver's seat. It's running the show. And to wrestle back control, it's going to take some work. And it's going to take some time. The good news is it's 100% up to you to spend the time and put in the effort. And the good news is also the reward is instant. Every % improvement that you come out of thoughts sooner, you get lost in thought less. Every degree of awareness, greater self-awareness, results in some improvement. More flow, more positive outlook. You just feel lighter, you breathe more easily, you're less anxious, you see things that you didn't see before, opportunities. It's endless. You just feel better, your health improves. You're able to stay focused longer. It's really our natural state that we're talking about. It's to return back to our natural state. This conditioned state, mind-driven state that we're in is so upside down. It's so far off the mark. So far hurtful to ourselves. We're weighing ourselves down with our attachment to our thoughts. I always say, your job is not to make you happy. Your job is not to make yourself unhappy. Because that's what we're doing. We're making ourselves unhappy with this addiction to thinking, this obsession with our beliefs, these mental truths. Once we come out of that, once we let go of that, it's not about fixing that. It's just about letting it go. Our vibration naturally starts to rise up again. Our natural state is to be light and easy, joyful. Yes, there are challenges, but we have a built-in GPS. We don't have to worry. It's right there. It's telling us, go this way or go that way. So life just gets a lot easier when we start to listen. Listen to ourselves. And we all have those intuitive hits, right? No one here thinks, oh, intuition, what's that? No, we have these intuitive hits. It's listening to them, but it's also learning to amplify it. Intuition, unfortunately, I don't know why, it's a subtle voice. Nature decided to create that. It's a whisper. It would be great if it was really loud, right? Then it'd just be a lot easier. But unfortunately, it's faint. And so you have to quiet yourself, quiet your system, quiet your mind. The mind is the noisy part, all those outside voices. Then you can hear your inner wisdom clearer and louder. All right. So we're going to do that just for 30 seconds or maybe a minute. We're going to close our minds. Close our eyes. It'd be great. Just shut down our minds. With your eyes and mouth closed, focus on the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. We're outside here. You may have trouble locating your breath, so it's okay. Just breathe slightly harder a couple times until you feel the touch of your breath. And then return to natural breath, normal breath. Let the detail of your breath pull you in closer, closer into the present moment. Gradually open your eyes. Bring your attention back to the room. How long before the mind came in and pulled your attention away?
Maybe
10 seconds? Yeah? Jeremy? No, we've been practicing.
I don't know,
5
5 seconds.
seconds. Okay. Anyone else? Yeah? Yes? Sleepiness is one of the defense mechanisms of the mind. What we're doing here is we're wrestling, pulling, taking back control, and it's going to start throwing the kitchen sink at you because it's used to being in the driver's seat. Sleepiness is the number one thing it'll make you. I'm so sleepy. It's going to take a nap. It's going to feel so great. Anything to keep you from taking control back. Pain is another one. Oh, I feel, hey, this is not for me. This hurts. I'll do this another day. Well, there are different types of sleep, but it is nature's way of shutting down the mind at night. You actually need less sleep as a meditator because you're not as irritated throughout the day. So then you have a better, higher quality, even though it's shorter, better quality of sleep. Because it's just the mental drain from the day puts you to sleep. Anyone here done a 10-day Vipassana? So once you've done a few of those, I've done 15, you get to the point where you no longer need to sleep. You're just lying there. It's only a few hours anyway. You get up at 4 a.m. But you're just lying there. Your body, you moved some, you sat some throughout the day, and you give your body a rest. But the mind is just it's kind of still there. It's still half awake. It doesn't need to sleep. It's a fascinating experience just to be up and still feel refreshed.
This is during the Vipassana?
Yeah.
Every day.
No, no, during. Yeah. Usually around day 7, 8, 9. You'll notice the reactivity leaving you when you look at the clock, and maybe at the start and early in your journey, you look at the clock and it's midnight, 1 a.m., and you start to freak out because you have to get up in 3 hours. Once you're a more established meditator, you look at the clock and it's 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and it's just 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. That's all there is. And that's the difference. You're no longer reacting. You're just seeing it as it is. What a big difference that can make. Other time, how many seconds before? Literally, I mean, it's seconds, right? Back there? Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's going to be our next exercise, is to bring it back and not get frustrated by the amount of time or focused on the amount of time. That should not be your obsession. It's like, no, it needs to be 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute. All that's just goal-orientedness, and it's a heap of a world of pain that you're getting into because you're trying to control things again. But yeah, it's just a few seconds. And the true improvement is that even after 20 years of meditation, you might sit down and the mind will drift within a few seconds. You go, what the heck? I've been doing this for 20 years. Why, I should see an improvement by now, right? No, it's the ease and the acceptance of noticing that your mind has drifted and then bringing it back to where you want it to be. That is the improvement. The mind is going to wander. Thoughts are going to happen. It doesn't matter. Meditation is not about shutting down thoughts. It's not about pushing them away or having complete thoughtlessness. It's about allowing whatever is to be. And from the allowing is when the magic happens. So you don't quiet a busy mind by wanting it to be quiet. You quiet a busy mind by accepting that it's busy. And then it quiets. It's one of these inverse paradox things of life. All right. Let's go to the next slide. We talked about the chronic stress. We talked about, I mentioned all the benefits are endless. The change it's brought into my life, into my family. You see people around you and you're at odds with them. Well, guess what? With meditation, with mindfulness, with awareness, you start to recognize that 50% of the equation is you. You are keeping them the way they are, to a large part. And you don't have control over them. You can't expect them to change, but what you can do is pull back your projection onto them. You're seeing them a certain way, labeling a certain way, judging them a certain way. That is keeping your picture of them in place. And so they start acting according to your projection of them. And they do it to you. So you've heard this before. We're not really, when we're reactive, we're not really dealing with each other. We're dealing with each other's picture of each other. That's what the mind does. It creates these snapshots of permanence. Somebody is something. You are this, I am that. This is good, this is bad. Life is continuous. It's always in motion. You can't assign these labels. They get you all jumbled up. All right, so we're going to do the trigger exercise now. Do we have our journaling material? All right. So we're going to think of a recent situation that triggered us. Could have been this morning. You don't have to go back very far. Something triggered us, I'm pretty sure, today. And sometimes, maybe more often than not, it's yourself. It's your own inner critic. So you had planned to do this or that, and then you set out and procrastinated, or it didn't happen that way, and you're just upset with yourself. So whatever triggered you, we're going to spend a few minutes and journal about that. Journaling in itself is very powerful. You're putting something, taking energy out of you and putting it on paper. We're going to go deeper than that. But as you journal, we'll just spend 4 or 5 minutes journaling, Notice where you feel the sensation. As you're writing, notice where it's coming up for you. That is key. So let's go ahead and do that. You don't need to interpret your feeling. It doesn't matter where it came from, who caused it. Just notice how you feel as you're journaling.
So we should write down what we felt, or we should write down the actual situation.
The actual situation. Yeah.
Is there any benefit, like if it's like a smaller one or a bigger one?
Good question. Don't journal about something where you'll have a mental breakdown. That's for private therapy.
So it's like
Something that you do feel the pinch, right? But it won't send you, home in a. Okay. So without even thinking about it a whole lot, you can put your pen and paper down and sit back. We're going to close our eyes. I'm going to walk you through a series of questions and instructions. And the first one being find that trigger, locate where you felt triggered as you were writing. What were you feeling? Where were you feeling it? Find that location, that sensation in your body. If there are multiple, find the one that stands out the most. And once you've located it, try to move in, get as close as you can to it. Find the edge. If there's any resistance, if there's fear, if it gets hot, if it pushes back, then you can always pull back, but see how close you can get to this energy, that sensation that you feel. Find the edge and just stay there and observe. Observe its shape. Is it round or flat or jagged? Can you see the outlines, the border, the boundaries? Is there movement? Or is it perfectly still? Can you see a color? If yes, is it solid or are there gradients? If not, just observe the colorlessness. Just observe. Whenever you find that your mind has drifted, just notice it, accept it, and bring it back to the point where you feel triggered. If you can move in closer, you can do so. You can always back off if it's too much. Just keep observing what is, without wanting it to be different. See if you can tell if the energy wants to leave you. Maybe it wants to melt or dissolve or exit through an opening. Just observe. Let it tell you what it wants to do. And gradually start to come out again. Returning your attention to the room. Gradually blinking open your eyes. Now, if you look back at what you wrote before, see if your experience has changed. I see people laughing. Jeremy? How do you feel? Okay. What was your experience?
Okay, so my trigger was I went to a workshop this morning and I didn't like it and I was angry with I felt like I wasted my time and then after the meditation I looked back at, at the journaling and I'm like now I'm not angry at that event anymore. I'm actually angry with how I responded to the trigger. So I'm like now I'm like feeling the anger like in a different way. It's like I'm angry at myself for reacting that way.
Yes. Yeah. And that's exactly what happens when we realize that we can't control our mind, which is the reactivity essentially. And to notice how fuzzy, how monkey mind our mind really is extremely frustrating. It makes you angry, it makes you flustered. And that's your experience, is that you were in resistance to something and you no longer want to be in resistance, but somehow the mind keeps creating resistance. So this is the next level. So that's great. So you've seen the futility of the initial reaction, how kind of silly it is. It's not that important. And now the next task is, well, how do I prevent myself from reacting like that again? But the awareness is there. Next workshop, that happens. The light of awareness is now in you about that situation. And you're going to guaranteed react differently. Even if you react 99% the same way, there's still 1% improvement. 1% of you going like, I'm not going to be angry like this anymore. So reactivity is hardwired. It's not going to go away instantly. So 1%, 2%, 5%. It takes some time. You're physically rewiring your brain. And you just have to give it that space, give it that time. It's frustrating the whole way through. But that's the beginning of those dominoes falling, of like, I'm no longer at the mercy of this situation. In a similar situation, you react again, angry, 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 angry. But you're going to start coming out of that now. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. How about you? Don't want to share? Okay. Don't have to share. Yeah. But it was good? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's another great one. I do this in sports a lot. There's an important moment coming up, important point. Heart is racing. Just observe it, and that's what calms it down. And we can apply this to anything. Important meeting. I'm about to have an important talk with your partner, whatever it is. And to be in tune with your body, to notice your sensations, it calls you to it. It's like, my heart is racing. Okay, let me calm down my heart. You can do that. You have that power. It doesn't want to be racing. It's racing because of some subliminal, reactivity. Give it the light of consciousness and it will calm down. Give it your presence. You can do that with anything. Anything that's stuck. How about back there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. It will change your journaling routine tremendously to just notice where you're feeling things as you're journaling. That's already half the work right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
One question.
Yes.
Is there a difference between writing and actually typing?
Yes. Some think it's subtle. I don't think it's subtle to use pen and paper, pencil and paper even. It's just more natural. It's more grounded. I mean, there's research, if you want, you can look up just standing barefoot in the grass, how that your whole body starts to align, and it's just natural that way. We evolved this way with, we weren't holding pens, and we certainly weren't on keyboards. And so the brain and the hand evolved together, the hand touching things, the tactileness of things. So I would always recommend pencil and paper to journal. Yeah. Yes. It's all about staying connected to our sensations, not just during journaling, but everything we do. You become alive. There's this journaling before now it's like a exciting activity, really. It's like you get to feel yourself and experience yourself, these emotions and all that. And it's surfacing and it's clearing and it's being released. And before, maybe you were just mentally kind of focused on what's writing and trying to process things mentally and felt so dry and so something was missing. It was like so hard Why it shouldn't be so hard? What was missing? Well, this is what was missing. Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's move on. This is the listening part. We already kind of touched on this. We're going to do a quick exercise here. Let me see. 2, 4, 6. Are you participating? Yes? Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8. Perfect. We have 8 people. We're going to split into pairs. And one person is going to be the talker, one is the listener. And the talker is going to choose a topic that you don't have in common, that the other person doesn't know anything about. And you're just going to talk for 1 minute. So let's have you two form a pair. You two, you're already sitting next to together. And then you two, and then you two. And just
one question. Is
Yep.
that about like emotional things as well, like triggers and stuff, or is that like whatever?
no, you can talk about sport, if you're into race cars, or you like drawing or knitting or cooking. Just talk about something, or talk about your day. Doesn't even matter. But something the other person, it's new to them. Ask them, are you familiar with, maybe you're into quantum physics, right? Jeremy, are you into quantum physics? Jeremy, no, I'd love to hear about it. So that's all it is. Find a topic that you don't have in common and just talk about it for 1 minute. Okay, go. Okay, now switch. The talker becomes the listener, and the listener becomes the talker. Pick something you don't have in common and share for 1 minute.
Just out of curiosity, in class, college, for it. Cool at first. And I realized skills, so I started using before I tested.
And cut. All right, it's perfect. So, how would you rate the quality of your partner's listening? Their listening ability, their quality of attention? When you were the speaker, did you feel heard by the other person? Yes? Yeah? 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 Okay. All right. Go back to the original configuration, whoever was the speaker first. This time you're going to talk about a topic you both have in common. So just spend a quick minute, a second, just finding something that a mutual interest. And then, again, one person shares and the other one listens.
It's just one more, and then one more slide, and then one, and then Q&A, and then.
Perfect. Perfect. Can it be dimmed? Yeah. And now switch. Switch from talker to listener, but talk about the same topic. Keep going around the same topic. And cut. All right. Wonderful. That was the exercise. How much harder was it to listen when you had an opinion about what was being said? I mean, it was not supposed to be a dialogue, just one person talking and the other one listening. Well, you wanted to join in, so because you have something to say there, right? You feel like you want to jump in. The person who was speaking, did you feel as heard as you did in the previous time when you were talking about something the other person didn't know about?
I would say that when we were discussing the common topic, I felt that the listener even was trying to keep silence. I was feeling that she was in a way contributing to the conversation through her presence and energy.
Mm. Well, that's beautiful, but you could definitely feel how she wanted to jump in. She wanted to say something. She had, something like. So it's not a bad thing, but it cuts us off when we have an opinion, when we judge something, good or bad, makes no difference. It prevents us from truly seeing it, listening to it, allowing it to be. We want to jump in. We want to inject ourselves. And this is a simple exercise just in conversation, but this is what happens in all-day situations, is that we have some projection, some expectation, a vested interest in something being a certain way. And that is how we start to interfere. We can no longer just let it be. That is a form of reaction, reactivity. Right? This jumping in, you can feel it in their body language. You can feel it in the energy. It was beautiful, friendly energy, but nonetheless, right? So this is what we're dealing with here. A mind that is so quick to jump in and label. We can intellectually understand what reactivity is, but in practice, you see how quickly it just, boom, it's there. It's judging, it's attaching, it's controlling. It's the toughest battle of your lifetime, is to bring control back from the mind. And many give up, right? They try and they get through the first 6 months, and then they realize what they're up against. And it's a monster. And there is really no other way to live than to come back into presence and live from a place of awareness, because that mind will just create havoc. You can't rely on your decisions. The fruits of your decisions will contain that havoc. You'll have subpar experiences in relationships. You have subpar experience in attracting abundance. You'll have subpar experience in health. It affects everything. There is no other way. You have to come out of that monkey mind. It's a primitive state. It's like the brain still thinks it needs to protect us from a bunch of hazards and problems around us. That was the case at one point. There's a danger lurking around every corner. But now there isn't danger lurking. The tigers aren't around every corner. But the mind still operates that way, and so it just creates problems. It'll take the tiniest little thing in your life and blow it up into the biggest problem, because that's its job. I've interviewed neuroscientists on this, and they call it brain 1.0. We're just still operating with an older version of our mind that there hasn't been enough time. We've evolved so quickly. Technology's happened so quickly that we're in an environment that suddenly this brain is just overwhelmed and is just looking for problems, because that's what its job is. It hasn't evolved as quickly with us. So we're dealing with an inferior tool. It's not meant to be in charge of life deciding decisions, modern life decisions. So, and it is very frustrating when you notice, oh my gosh, I reacted again, and I reacted again, and I can't stop from reacting. You can. It's just little increments. And it doesn't happen as fast as we want, which is again the mind speaking. So it's a gradual path, but with each percent, you will notice the improvement in things just going your way, things happening more smoothly. A lot of it is not logical. It's not obvious. You find yourself, people commenting on, oh my gosh, you're so pleasant to be around suddenly. I'm like, I didn't know I was unpleasant to be around before. But you'll hear those comments because suddenly you're just creating a space around you of just allowing things to be. And everybody wants to be in that energy, that allowing energy. They get to heal being in that energy as well. You're no longer pushing back on them, your projections.
I have one question.
Yes.
Like,
And this takes us to our Q&A. So yeah, you can.
The question I have is like, for example, in this example with having a conversation, because I also felt the urge to say something because there was something we had in common, and I wanted to ask some follow-up questions or like get his opinion on things or stuff like this. But is that actually like, I don't want to say a bad thing, but something we should still control? Because I'm questioning myself because I totally see the benefits of what you explaining us, but I'm just questioning myself if I want to be the person who's also not reacting and just say, okay, cool. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so there's a few things in there. One, there's a big overarching lesson in this, and that is to learn to be comfortable with not knowing. That will take you far, just to be okay with not knowing. Because that is the mind is wanting to know, and ask the question back and look it up right away. And just, it wasn't too long ago in my youth, you had to just live with a lot of not knowing. There's no way to look things up constantly. So make a mental note, put that on your bathroom mirror or something, it's okay not to know. And knowledge is it's a whole nother topic. I write books about this. The illusion of control that we get from that. But that takes me to the next thing is there's a difference between having a casual conversation and fun and exchanging ideas, and there's a creative spark that can go around, or just at a bar with a friend, whatever it is, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You should do that and enjoy yourself and listen to your inner voice and whether that's a good use of your time or not. And if it says, yeah, this is what I need right now. Maybe you've been working hard all week. You want some time to decompress. Perfect. We're also talking about deeper healing and coming out of reactivity to be able to make clear decisions. So that's your second part, is it's not about just letting everything just be and anything happens and you just let life roll over you and step over you and not care. It almost feels like not caring. The acceptance is not to just sit back and let life happen. The acceptance is so that you can see it without your filters. Just hear more clearly, you see more clearly because you're not injecting yourself, your past experiences, your own expertise, your own needs and wants, your fears and all this stuff, this defense mechanism that our mind creates in order to protect itself, because it's this fickle structure really that needs constant validation. These mind-made truths, not your inner knowing, but these mind-made truths and beliefs. Every belief is a limiting belief, and it's a very fickle structure. So you're constantly looking around to reinforce that belief and defend it against other beliefs. And this is madness. This is what it's like to live through the mind. So to come out of that entirely, and the decisions you make from that, in that space, in that noisy space, are not good decisions. They have weird motives of control and power and achieving outcome and things like that. But the true, what is he saying from his perspective, experiencing his expression, holding space for what he wants to say cleanly. You can contribute afterwards, but hear what he's saying, learn to see what's happening, see it as it is. Then you're dealing with objective reality. You're not bringing in your own baggage, essentially, your stuff, and distorting what you're seeing. This is how two people can witness the same thing and have completely two different takeaways. So because they weren't actually looking objectively what was happening, they were interpreting it through their filters, their mind's filters. So then you wind up just repeating and looping of the same behavior over and over because you're just seeing it through the same filters. But life is happening. It's diverse. It's endless. It's full of diversity and changes and unexpected things. And to be allowing of that, then you're dealing with true life essence and creativity and just seeing it for what it is, collaborating with it. Right? You're not in resistance when you project wants and needs and your own control onto something. You're kind of separate from it. But when you allow it to be, when you're really open, then you actually get pulled into it. Now you're collaborating with it. It's a very different experience. And it's never about just rolling over and letting things happen, not doing anything about it. It's just about step one, seeing it as it is, accepting it for what it is, and then taking action. And the action you take on the clarity of seeing it as it is completely different. It bears fruits that are as clear as what you're basing your decision on, right? If you're basing decisions on past trauma, then your decisions you're just reliving your past through those decisions. You want to just see things as they are as a first step to then take action. And you'll feel called to take action, not from a mental place, but from an experiential place, right? We're staying out of the mental labeling and judging of the situation, and we're allowing ourselves to feel what this is bringing up in us, not through the filters, but actually as it is. And then we can feel what resonates and what doesn't resonate. This is your body's truth, your own blueprint that is speaking. That's it.
So it's more like having like a pause between the input and the reaction.
Yeah. You could say that. On the previous screen, there was the 3-second rule. This will change your life. This is a little hack. But before you respond to anybody, just wait 3 seconds.
I actually do that when I'm leaving the house.
Uh-huh.
I'm waiting 3 seconds because I forgot my keys often. So I'm scared of just closing the doors and then I'm just staying there. So
Yes.
I always check. I give myself 3 seconds.
I do that with my scooter as well because I lock the keys inside. You'll be amazed. Just give those three seconds. Give it the space. The other person might start talking again and answer the question for themselves that they were just asking. Letting people figure out for themselves what they need is the best form of conversation. So just holding space for that to happen, waiting before you inject yourself, letting them hear what they just said, right? The speaking crystallizes thoughts. Thoughts alone are vague. They're just kind of clouds, monkey mind stuff. But speaking and journaling brings some clarity already to it. So if you just give the person some space, a few seconds, to hear and process what they just said, there will be clarity in that. Or if you have a problem in your work, or as a coder, I used to be a front-end developer, and 9 out of 10 times when I went to my instant messenger and started describing the problem, explaining to my group of coding friends, the answer came to me, and I never wound up having to send it. Yes. Oh my God, I love that. Explain that some more. Describe that.
Like it's a trick in programming when you're facing a bug or you don't know how to solve a question or something, you get a little toy or something and you explain the problem to the toy, and then just talking about it, you reflect at the same time, and then the answer comes.
Yes. So everyone find their rubber duck, their version of it. So it's amazing. Life can be so much simpler and effective and productive. We're talking about efficiency here and productivity here. Talking about getting through situations more smoothly, finding the path of least resistance. That's what meditation is about, mindfulness is about. Is no longer getting caught up on all this reactive stuff, replaying stuff, spending energy on stuff that's already happened. See it for what it is, and then take action based on that. Okay. I think we just talked about this. So you find some techniques. We have rubber duck examples. We have partners with whom maybe there's some friction. So we learn to bring the 3-second rule in. All the things we've talked about. I mean, we've touched on so many things. Journaling with your sensations, not just writing and staying in a mental place, but noticing how it makes you feel. Notice how everything makes you feel. We're not disconnected from life and from our bodies. That's not how we're meant to live. Pick any routine that you currently engage in every morning. Start with one routine, pouring yourself your favorite cup of coffee. Focus and keep your attention on how it makes you feel. As you take the mug, the temperature, as you pour, the smell, the sound of the splashing. Use your senses to engage and really feel and experience the activity. It can be with the littlest things. I used to do this with water in the morning. I'd go to the refrigerator dispenser. It takes about 10 seconds to fill the glass. And I would just practice mindfulness on the very first thing in the morning on the simple activity that I did every day. And just hold it there, watch the water splash, the little bubbles, what it felt like in my hand, the sound of it. That's all we're talking about. But this is the seed that then grows into a tree. So find something. We can spend a minute now. Just write down something in your daily routine. I'm a big fan of, it doesn't have to be a separate activity. Pick something you're already doing and just do it more intentional. Yeah. Pick 3 things if you're gung-ho that you're already doing. Please.
I'm just wondering, like, how can I implement that, for example, in a working environment, like with having meetings and all this stuff? I mean, I can obviously focus on myself, but it's sometimes what's hard for me is if there are other people are involved, because their reaction constantly triggers like an urge to react again. And this is like, or for example, in a relationship as well, I can manage to do it like 2, 3, 4, 5 times, but for me it's always there's like a certain point where I just can't resist anymore to actually react. And how to get, like, is it just practice to get out of this, or?
Yeah, it's just practice. It's you now you're seeing how you're just all day long you're going from one reaction party to the next. It's just like a whole reactive world. Start with things, and I mentioned before, don't start with something that causes you a panic attack. That is just too much. Start with the tiniest little thing and let it grow from there. So it could be even just taking a shower. If you take a shower in the morning, notice the water, the temperature, the yumminess of that, and you realize, oh my gosh, I haven't really been taking showers. It's crazy. My whole life I've been getting under this water and I haven't really been feeling it, experiencing it. So start with these little things, making your bed, feeling the fabric, however many count you have, the way it looks when it's taut, just the geometry of it, just like connect with that. See how it makes you feel. And this sensation, as long as you're connected to your sensations, you'll stay present. You can't feel feelings from tomorrow or from the past. Whatever you're feeling is happening right now. This is the key to presence, to mindfulness, to awareness, is to stay connected to your sensations. And what life wants you to do is to actually feel and experience its diversity, its shapes, its colors, its sizes, its smells, its sights. I mean, this sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Life wants me to just indulge in all of its juiciness. In exchange, I get to be present. It's a sweet deal. It's a win-win. Okay. Yeah, thanks. Okay, we did that. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. His name is covered there. Being proactive is more than taking initiative. It is recognizing that we are responsible for our own choices and have the freedom to choose based on principles and values rather than on moods or conditions. Proactive people are agents of change and choose not to be victims, to be reactive, or to blame others. By coming out of reactivity, by coming out of that blame, you become responsible for your own choices. You become empowered to live your life the way you are called to live. You come out of the enslavement, that's what it really is, to your environment, where you're at the mercy of what somebody says, how something happens, or if it doesn't happen, and how it makes you feel. And you can't get away from that. So coming out of reactivity solves all of that.